Yeah, so now we're recording.
Okay. Should we just begin, or should we wait a little bit?
Yeah, I think we just start here. Yeah, Gunnar.
No, basically, yes. Go ahead and start.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
No,
So I'll just a couple of words, Kim. So, very welcome to this webinar on the Data Use and Access Act with our wonderful host, Kim Bøgeskog Andersen from SafeOnline in Denmark. So, without further ado, Kim, please take your driver's seat.
Thank you very much for those kind words. It's always nice when people talk really nice about you, so I really appreciate it. Right, if we start with just a little bit about SafeOnline, who are we? Just briefly. We are a GDPR company. We deal with lots of different things, but our main product is what I'm going to show you, which is called Data Mapper, which is a GDPR tool that finds GDPR data in various locations. We are working across Scandinavia and the UK. We're quite new in the UK, but we do have clients in the UK. So yeah, but GDPR is a lot of things, and one of the things that is going to be a challenge for wrong slide, for a lot of companies, for every company really, whether you are public or private, is the new Data Use and Access Act. And that's quite extensive, and I'm not a lawyer or solicitor or anything like that. So if there's any questions in terms of the legal aspect, I would recommend you to seek legal advice on those matters. But what we can say is that the main challenge with it is that any company, whether public or private, needs to have a clear oversight of what data it holds and who has got access to that data. Now, okay, thanks for that, government. That's very kind of you. So how do we do that? Because that's obviously a very, very difficult task. And whether you are 10 employees or 10,000, it becomes quite daunting to sort of approach that. But we have a solution for that. But before I start getting into the solution, just a couple of points here in terms of how this affects the public and private sector. There's lots and lots of things into it, and I'm not going to sit and bore you with all the details of it, but it is vitally important that any company starts to prepare for it, because the ICO in the UK are going to come down hard on this, because it's not just a advice anymore. It's not just it's had royal assent. It's been approved. You have to comply with it. So how do you do that? Yeah, that's a bit of a challenge. So what we offer as a company, absolutely free of charge, no strings attached, nothing, and that's something that's exclusive for Norwegian-British Chamber of Commerce and for the DK-UK Association. It's something we typically charge for, but it's free of charge for anyone who wants it. So what it is a full risk assessment of your Microsoft environment. And that's your emails, as an example. It is if you use OneDrive or SharePoint, there's a certain limit to it in terms of how much data. We typically say, okay, we can scan free up to 100 emails free of charge, or 50 emails and then 2 terabyte data within your OneDrive or SharePoint. But that should be enough to give you an idea about what sort of information you've got. And what Data Mapper does, we set up the scan, which takes about a couple of minutes. We basically just need a person from IT who's got access to the Microsoft 365 license, because he or she is the one who kind of has to push the button, and then we start the scan. When we start the scan, we invite the person who is in charge of the project into the system, so you can see for yourself how it works, and you can see what it scans for, and it's just an ideal way also to test it a little bit in terms of finding out if this creates any value for your company, without any interference from, you know, salesy people like myself or anyone else for that matter, to just make up your own mind about it. So once we started the scan, we typically follow up on the scan within a couple of days later. And there we answer typical questions, because for most companies, it's, how do you say that in English? It's really an eye opener, because you'll start to see the scope of the challenge you've got, because you find so many different things. So once we've done that, we follow up on it, of course, answer any questions you might have. Then we continue to scan and process the data. And once we process the data, then you get a full report, and I'll send you a copy of the report afterwards if you want it. It's 16 pages long, so I'm not going to bore you with all them details, but just to give you an idea about what the report contains and what it shows you. It shows you, first of all, how many files we've scanned. If you look to your left-hand side, it shows you the total amount of files we've scanned and how many of those have got GDPR risk in them. And what is GDPR risk? What is it, the information that Data Mapper searches for? There are two overall categories. One is what you see in red here, where it says high risk by type. What that is anything that is number-based. So that is, for example, national insurance numbers, it can be Danish CPR numbers, passport numbers, driving license numbers, credit card details, that sort of information. So it'll show you exactly how many of those you got. But importantly, it also shows you who's got them. So you'll be able to see the people that have scanned their locations. You'll be able to see exactly what information they have got that is GDPR relevant in their inboxes or in Teams or SharePoint or wherever they keep it. That's the first sort of piece of information you get. The next piece of information you get is basically identical, but it's everything that is not number-based. Okay, and that is information like, for example, health information. It is things like race, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, etc., etc. But before all of these things are under the rules of GDPR, they have to be personally identifiable. So that means it has to point to a certain individual, because, you know, two colleagues in a company can sit and chat on Teams to say they both have kids with ADHD, for example, and oh, I've got this and this challenge with mine or whatever. That's fine. That's nothing to do with GDPR. But once it points to a certain individual, the best way probably to describe it is, as an example, if we go back in time when we had COVID and lots of people were working from home, I'm sure we all remember that part of it. And if, for example, if a HR department sends out an update to its staff, something in line of, dear all, please remember to wash your hands 5 times a day and keep a safe distance between each other, and please reach out if there's anything you need, because of the whole pandemic situation of COVID-19. Take care of yourself, and we look forward to seeing you back in the office whenever we can again. Yours sincerely, HR, or just something like that. That really, when you look at it, that's information about an illness that can have lethal consequences for some members of the public. But it has nothing to do with GDPR, even though it contains information about an illness that can be, you know, lethal. But for example, let's just say that, Gunnar, if you write an email to Deanne, for example, saying, Deanne, listen, I'm not coming into the office today because I tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday, so I'll just be working from home. Best regards, love from Gunnar. then all of a sudden that email is GDPR relevant because it points to you as an individual owner and to an illness you've got. So that's just to sort of clarify. That's the sort of rule of thumb. So it'll show you all that information in the locations that's being scanned. The report is obviously a lot more thorough than what I'm showing you here, but that's just to give you an overview of what it actually, what is it, the information you're given. And this is also, there's a certain element to it that is extremely handy because most companies nowadays know, or maybe I presume they do, but I think they do, that they might have a challenge with this, right? But I have no idea about how big is the challenge, because how can you possibly know that? You can't. But this risk assessment will give you the answer to that, because it'll scan the locations and you can see exactly who's got what and what it is. So now you know. And that's the kind of first step in terms of preparedness for the new act that comes in, because that's what is being, that's what the government says. Whether you do it or not, it's completely up to yourself, but that's just good advice. Let me just carry on to my next slide, because that's more or less it really. So it's free of charge, doesn't cost anything to find out, and we can set it up from one day to the next, and we need to spend approximately, from we started till the report's done, till we've gone through everything, come with our recommendation, anything between 60 to 90 minutes. That's it. And it's all done on Teams. So